Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well. And hope you're all having a great day. And without any further ado, let's jump right into it. All world markets are either down or completely all over the place. We don't exactly have to talk about the gigantic elephant in the room, if you will. It's more of a, I saw a lot of people, and I have been seeing people discussing on Twitter and I mean, I don't know if it's just a lack of people watching the news, which once again, I stated that before. I don't always watch the news, simply because I find it far too depressing. That is me personally, as someone who used to watch the news all the time and read every newspaper. Hearing consistently what's going on is a gigantic damper on my happiness. The long and short of it is, current events are taking place and world markets are responding as one would assume that they would. And as such, the cryptocurrency market is also completely over the place. No one knows where markets are going to go right now. We are at a very particular time in the cryptocurrency market and cryptocurrency history and what is going to happen with Bitcoin in just a couple of days. But as of right now, I mean, completely in the air. For those of you who were here a couple of weeks ago, I mentioned something like this. I said crypto, or rather Bitcoin, as we get near the halving or at the halving, immediately after the halving, tends to act very normal. It always does the exact same thing. There's the little dip that we tend to have as people try to sell the news, what have you. And then the market ends up ramping itself back up as people realize how rare Bitcoin has then become. And I said the only thing that would the only thing that would knock us off course would be some kind of otherworldly event, if you will. And right. So, despite all markets being down right now, or not really knowing where to go, or people anticipating the best or the worst, there still is an enormous amount of optimism within the cryptocurrency space, which is quite nice to still see. Robert Capito, BlackRock's co-founder, has offered a cautiously optimistic outlook for the market, foreseeing a potential resurgence. In his assessment, he points to the substantial sum of nearly $9 trillion currently held in money market funds and cash alternatives at banks. This considerable pool of capital, according to Capito, possesses the potential to exert a significant influence on the equity market, making it a force to be closely monitored in the coming periods. Between the idea of the halving, the amount of money that we keep hearing is ready to flow into the market, the idea of interest rates is quite prominent still in cryptocurrency news and also in normal financial news. It was anticipated by a number of analysts at the beginning of this year that we would see around 4 interest rate cuts, because inflation still is not, and I air quote here, still is not going down to the levels that the Fed wants it to, which is also a load of nonsense, simply because inflation is not just 4%, it is a lot higher. You see it when you go to the supermarket. You see when you try to buy anything. You see it when you, I watch documentaries and when people have to pay their rent. It is, it's not just 4%. So the Fed has stated, I believe, twice this year that they're looking at the numbers and they're trying to see if an interest rate cut is necessary at all this year. People have been anticipating a Fed rate cut to indicate that the economy is doing well, that inflation is going down. And usually this signifies a large amount of money will then push into the stock market, which then in turn also gets money pushed into the cryptocurrency market as well. Current analysts are stating that it looks like we might see around two interest rate cuts this year, but no one knows when. We've had anywhere from June. People are expecting October. I mean, it's all, I think people just throwing things out, same exact way at the beginning of the year when they were saying they were anticipating 4 different rate cuts. But because of that, a lot of people within the crypto space do believe, or rather, how do I say this, that any fall in price is going to be short-lived. We saw even about 2 or 3 days ago, if you were looking at the markets, that prices did dip considerably. Like all coins completely fell down, but within a couple of hours, they were going back up. The problem is that if you turn on the TV or turn on wherever you get your news source from, events continued. And therefore, of course, markets are going to continue to be spooked, which is just completely normal at this point. So this was one of the more popular ones that kept on popping up on multiple different websites. As far as one of the higher ups of BlackRock talking about markets recovering, like even in the short term, if you will. Also in major still news that people are talking about, this happened a couple of days ago, but this is still something that people are keeping their eyes on as an indication for them as to where our market might be going over literally the course of the next couple of days. Hong Kong has become the latest country to approve spot exchange traded funds for Bitcoin and Ether, with local regulators issuing approvals to at least 3 local issuers. For those of you who weren't here before, about 3 weeks ago, I think it's been less than 3 weeks actually, Hong Kong announced that they were looking into the idea of allowing spot ETFs within their country. And then we got news that, they were going to do it like 2 or 3 days later, which was also completely insane. Yes, so I've seen a couple of sources, and I think the general consensus is that they already have their Bitcoin and Ether ETFs. I saw a couple of websites stating that they're expecting them to launch by the end of this month, but I've seen other places saying that some of them are already active. So cool, give it to the end of the month and they should all be, rip-roaring and ready to go. The assumption is that this is going to be a bit of a doorway for very wealthy individuals within China to be able to essentially, air quotes, trade in Bitcoin, as it is not physically Bitcoin, it is the actual ETFs. That this would cause a huge amount of money to rush into this market. I've seen other reports saying that people from mainland China are going to be banned from being able to deal in these ETFs because it's essentially still Bitcoin, if you will. So, I mean, news is kind of completely all over the place. If you were watching a couple of videos ago, people can be very annoying. Remember when 2 or 3 weeks ago, maybe 3-4 weeks ago, when the cryptocurrency market also fell because of whatever was going on back then? There was news that stated that one day, because normally we were getting anywhere between $600 million to $800 million worth of inflows into the ETFs. I think one day only had around $300 million as an inflow. And all these websites were talking about how bad it was that it was only 300 million, like something along those lines. I saw an article. I don't have it here because I'd be rolling my eyes and wouldn't be able to look at the screen. They stated that they anticipated that only $500 million worth of Bitcoin might flow into the Hong Kong funds within the first couple of weeks. And I'm like, how distorted is your mind that you think $500 million into anything isn't a lot of money? And it makes me really annoyed because whatever. I have my own ideas about the people who write a lot of these articles, but $500 million worth of Bitcoin is an egregious amount of money. And to have that flow into one fund in a country that's barely been in the cryptocurrency news, especially as so many people only pay attention to any type of US cryptocurrency based news, is still dramatically fantastic. So as of right now, it looks like the funds are active, and or one or two of them are active and the other ones will be completely going by the end of this month. Also, still very optimistic news. One of the most spoken about things that we have currently floating around. Also in the news as well. I mean, it's, I don't know. As markets were falling down, we can only assume that people are going to be a bit spooked. I forgot what it was. We seemingly have an event like this year on year. We had one last year when the markets were falling, and we had one the year before that. And you all know what happened 2020 and 2021. But whenever these things happen, I don't know if it's simply because people want the clicks, or if it's because, well, I know that fear sells. We've seen that multiple times before. But a lot of times in the cryptocurrency space, a lot of people who I assumed would be for the space tend to be like very excited to release negative news in some sort of way, and I don't know the exact reason for it. So we can all assume, right? If other world markets are falling down and people are afraid and not really knowing exactly where to put their money, that we would see a slowdown in the amount of money that would be flowing into ETFs. This is just completely logical, right? For those of you who don't know, crypto is a very volatile, very risky asset class. We have only been around, Bitcoin has only been around for 15 years. And as such, the market is, in essence, very, very immature. It is not up to where other markets that have been around for 50, 100, or 150 years have been around. I hope we can all agree on that. And maybe that's also where a lot of the news is coming from as well. Upon the news that everything had begun falling quite dramatically in price and things weren't moving up as quickly as people anticipated them to, or people on Twitter at least anticipated them to, the numbers began to come out as to exactly how much money was flowing into the actual ETFs. BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF has stood out as the sole Bitcoin ETF fund in the United States to experience inflows on Monday, while other ETFs reported either zero inflows or even outflows. Raise your hand if that's surprising to you. No, put it down, because no, you understand English. You know exactly what I'm talking about. According to the data from Far Side Investors, the iShares Bitcoin Trust IBIT recorded net inflows of $73.4 million on the 15th of April, although this figure decreased from the $111 million seen the previous day. A lot of news floating around right now is that the BlackRock ETF only had 73. I honestly expected, so me and my friend, we met up on Sunday and we were hanging out, and then he told me the world events because, you know, life. And I had completely expected that either prices had completely collapsed, or that all the ETFs kind of only had outflows. Whenever there is any, for those of you who were not here, if you were not here or you have somehow forgotten, in 2020, cryptocurrency prices and stock market prices collapsed. In the event of a weird world event, the assumption that any of you might have that people keep their money in stocks or in crypto or anything else is completely false. And people sell off immediately to try and get cash, because we've also seen before that sometimes stock markets have been shut down. Look into it. It's actually more common than you would think around the world. And as such, I just, I sat there sipping my tea because I was like, okay, cool, market's going to be down for a while. But a lot of the news that was floating around was kind of very doom and gloom as far as like, will crypto ever recover? Can the markets go back up? And it's like, yes, whatever. Right. So the inflows into BlackRock has slowed down considerably, as one would assume. And some of the ETFs even had outflows. You know what also had outflows? The stock market. People were selling. There were certain stocks that were down by 12 to 20% over the course of a 24-hour period. I think a lot of people, and I say this in the nicest way possible, I think a lot of people are brand new to markets. I've stated that before. Crypto is a very easy market to get into. It doesn't have as many barriers as other markets, the traditional markets that we have out there. And as such, I think a lot of people who get into crypto have an illusion that prices continue to rise forever. They don't hear about the market for 2, 3, 4 years because they ignore their friends who's telling them to buy when prices are low. And then when these people get into the market, they have the assumption that prices have been rising continuously over the course of a 2, 3, 4 year period. They get into the market, prices drop as they do because no market continuously just goes up forever. And then I think this fear and panic begins to kind of ensue as to why this is happening. Should I take my money out? And a lot of new people, as we've been stating before, fear is understandable. I'm not making fun of you or pointing down to you because you are afraid. It's more of a comma. Just understand that when you sell and the price goes back up, it's going to the whales. It's going to the BlackRock. It's going to all these institutions in these companies because their bots who are trading anticipate your movement of being afraid and selling. And this is where the coins end up getting swooped up. So, yeah. What's this one over here? Also whale news. For those of you not looking at the screen, it says, according to analytics from a company called Look On Chain, a significant Bitcoin whale managed to accumulate $16 million worth of Bitcoin after the market downturn. The firm noted this marks the third time the whale has engaged in a major accumulation frenzy. Overall, they have managed to gather $59 million in Bitcoin since the beginning of December, and that's also like a lower number as well. If you've been watching this channel for a while, especially as I do daily news, there are many other wallets out there that are accumulating hundreds of Bitcoin daily, every 24 hours, like clockwork. And I, dare not say these words in a very first world way. Only $16 million is not really that much compared to like the numbers that we're seeing across hundreds of wallets who were always buying at the exact same time. Yeah, the whales are definitely still buying. I wish there was some sort of way that I could calm your fears, as it were. We've been going over this for a number of years. I'm not Superman. I'm not some type of mental genius. I no longer get afraid at the market drop simply because they will continue to happen. That's just the way that the markets are built, at least for the cryptocurrency space. We are nearing the halving. We are very, very close. The market is going to be experiencing, even if we did not have the current situation, the markets are going to experience an enormous amount of volatility in the coming weeks, simply because if you pay attention to when the market goes down and the people who have longs who get liquidated, what ends up happening is apparently, from what we've heard before in the news, is that larger market players don't really want people having longs or shorts in the market for some reason that I can't understand. It messes with their positions, and they want the market to kind of be free of all these things. So this is where we tend to see these wipeouts and then accumulation periods where the whales are simply buying up everything that was wiped out per se. We are in a very odd time historically. We're in a very weird market. We are in a position where historically we've seen our market surge just around this time as we get near a halving, what have you. I don't really know what more to say. It's just more of a try to remain level-headed as we creep into the unknown. I'm expecting this year is going to have a lot more ridiculous, weird news instances because something's in the air. I'm not exactly sure what's happening, but just understand that Bitcoin is still rare. There's still not a lot of it out there. When you see the news that prices have gone down, I wrote this on Twitter a couple of days ago because I don't understand how quickly sentiment can change. But then again, I'm also not in everyone else's position. I do not know what everyone else is going through. Therefore, I cannot say. It's just whenever prices are going up by 4, 5, 6, 7%, you can feel the euphoria. It's literally in the air. Prices go down by 6%, and everyone has this woe is us kind of thing. And will the market ever recover? I don't know how people can shift so quickly. I think because I've seen it happen so many times. And I mentioned this before. The only thing now that would really maybe like affect me is if we saw Bitcoin drop to like 10 to 15,000. It would need to be something like egregiously dramatic, because even before when we had to go over this in 2020 and 2021, a lot of the news floating around in the cryptocurrency space was like crypto's dropping. There was never a why. There was never an answer. So I began in those videos to actually show you what was happening in the stock market with our market. And it's like, look, they're the same. Understand that we are also affected by outside forces within our market. When you talk about the institutions being in our space, when institutions sell in the stock market, they're not going to be like, oh, cool, let's just, they're also going to sell in our space as well. But yeah, that's a lot of the price news-esque as far as what's going on right now. It looks like the halving is maybe going to be on Friday. I mean, if you look at different sources, they all have different times. I don't know how some of the times can end up being like 17 hours apart. But as we get like a day or two away, they kind of become more in sync, and they line up very heavily. And it looks like Friday afternoon, Friday evening. I've even seen some like Saturday morning, depending on where you're looking at the actual time frame. But continuing on in that exact same topic, it says the halving is less than 1 week away. Yeah, it's actually less than 1 week away. And Coinbase is hyping up the event with a new commercial. Coinbase is a very like a cheesy cornball kind of like crypto. I don't know why I have like such a, it's not a dislike for them, but like the things that they do seem so like bubblegum. It's always this like performative, like getting on stage, putting on a hat kind of thing, like for every single event. And I don't know if this actually even works for the masses. Coinbase is a company that over the years, like many other interesting companies in the space, have released commercials and done things during the Super Bowl. And I'm asking all of you, has there been a situation where you sat down with a friend or a family member and that commercial or a commercial from Coinbase came on, or any commercial from any other company, and you saw interest from someone else who you were with? Like, did the commercials work on them? Did they go, oh my gosh, there's a Coinbase commercial during the Super Bowl. I need to go get some right now. I don't know. Coinbase released a video on Twitter on Monday illustrating how much Bitcoin's value has appreciated over time by measuring it to purchasing power in terms of pizza. They said, over time, your money gets you less. Does Bitcoin? And then they released a commercial for it as well, which I haven't seen and I haven't clicked on. But this is also very popular news. I think the assumption is that things like this will get the masses into the space, and that's my question. Was your grandmother sitting there and she turns to you and go, how do I buy this Bitcoin? Like that kind of thing. This was very popular news. And I don't know how Coinbase is becoming popular in the news again, but I have my own theories, as it were, especially with their layered solution known as Base. But yeah, they have commercials, as did the other companies who made the ETFs, at least back in January and February. I don't understand time. And I know, I'm sorry that I ramble so much a lot of times, but time is such a very weird thing. I feel like mentally that the halving has already passed. Am I the only one? There's been so much happening this year. We normally don't get any of this momentum, not even price-wise, news-wise, information, updates, upgrades from other altcoins until after The halving has actually taken place. And for us to like still not be there, it all feels a little bit odd. Like something's like a little bit off in the world. I can't really exactly place it. Yeah, so that's the Coinbase news. They have a new commercial. The halving is a couple of days away. Let's move on. Also I think this is supposed to be major news. I'm not really 1,000% sure. Due to European Union anti-money laundering rules, Kraken is going to be delisting the coin known as Monero in Belgium and in Ireland on the 10th of June. For those of you who do not know, Monero, Zcash, and Dash, these are privacy coins that allow you to have private transactions. As you have seen before, there are many countries on the planet who already do not like the cryptocurrency space, and as such, coins that allow to have private transactions are even more disliked by world leaders and governments. And this has been going on since around 2017, 2018. So I'm actually kind of shocked that it took Kraken this long to delist this coin in particular, as I believe the other coins have already been delisted from multiple other platforms. The reasoning that we normally get is that these coins could be used for either illicit purposes and or some type of anti-money laundering, money movement kind of thing. I've been seeing a lot of other articles from normal, if you will, news outlets over the last 2 months. But I think these are older news publications who have some type of an ulterior motive. Either they're trying to get the price of Bitcoin to drop so they can buy more, or they literally don't know how to use a computer, like that kind of thing, where they're talking a lot more about Bitcoin being used solely for illicit purposes, and we don't understand why the SEC allowed this to go through. Bitcoin is only for criminals. This is the reason why we actually have companies like Into the Chainalysis, Santiment, etc., etc. They were created because we were told that Bitcoin was only used for criminals. And these companies arose, looked through the chains, and this is where we got the news that I believe the numbers were only 0.05% of transactions on Bitcoin could have been deemed or looked at as illicit and or illegal. And that's depending on the context of which you were looking at the actual transactions. And that stopped many governments from fear-mongering people within the cryptocurrency space. But those articles have been popping up again, and it's like, no, we would have definitely gotten news from Santiment or on-chain and analytics platforms about all these things that have been going on. And I think is an easy target to kind of get people's attention once again. You go after Monero, Zcash, and Dash, which I assume, are these coins even being used? That's not a joke. That's literally like, when was the last time you heard me say the word Monero? 2018, 2019? Kraken announced they will be suspending Monero deposits and trading on the 10th of May. The withdrawals will remain open until the 10th of June, but customers were advised to close all margin and leverage positions before Monero trading is suspended. It said it barely reacted to the news as the coin's price didn't even really go down. I assume the only time this coin has been going down is the last couple of days because of world events. The trading volume can't be monstrous. Like it can't be anything like hyper significant anymore. But a lot of people still love these coins. A number of years ago, last point, people believed that Bitcoin was anonymous. And I mean, it is in some sort of ways, but also not. Transactions can be tracked. This is what I told you all before. Every time you link something to your Visa, to your MasterCard, to your MetaMask and all these other things, and to your PayPal, of course, your transactions are going to be tracked. This is what they want. But when people realized that Bitcoin wasn't completely anonymous, other coins began to form and take shape, and they became quite popular. You know, people want to do what they want to do with their money in some sort of way. I have a couple of, rather, they're not even friends, acquaintances, people who I know, who literally still only want to deal in cash. I make fun of them sometimes for it because I tap my card and I keep it moving. But they prefer to like go to ATMs, take out money. And this is even when they like buy video games, when they buy something for their car, when they buy something for their home, they want to live privately. But the way that the world is moving, that's clearly not going to be possible in the near future. Have you been seeing how do I say this nicely? What's been going on in the airports? The new cameras, they no longer have like someone checking you. This is just a camera that's there now. So this is the future that we all, we've been, if you ever, I do. If you ever watch futuristic movies from the 80s and 90s, that's kind of basically where we are right now. So anyway, completely off track. Yeah, this coin is going to be delisted on Kraken. I'm pretty sure it's already delisted in many other crypto exchanges as well. So no gigantic surprise there. Yeah, I think that's going to do it for this video. Basically, prices are all over the place. Everyone's anticipating the halving. I asked you all before. I was completely serious. If anyone's doing something for the halving, I've been invited to like a number of events and to like dinners and stuff like that. Now that people take it super seriously, it's more of this one is quite significant. I told you before, the 2024, 2028, and 2032 were foretold for years since I got into the market as the ones that get us to the $1 million Bitcoin, that get us to over 1 billion people within the cryptocurrency space. And also, you've been paying attention to all the stuff that's been happening in the cryptocurrency market the last couple of months. The anticipation of where we're going to be 3 months after the halving is staggering. And I cannot say that lightly enough. Staggering for all coin prices, especially for altcoins. We're getting constant reports of altcoin season. When is this season happening? And when is it going to so-and-so? We'll see. April, May, June, July, August, September. That will be 6 months after the halving. People are expecting very great things for the market. But once again, as we do exist on this planet, weird catalysts can take place that cause markets to really swing in a number of directions. But it seems that the general consensus or idea right now is still one of optimism within our market. I do hope that you've all enjoyed. I do hope you all are having a great day, morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. I do hope it is absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and supporting. And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.